Hello everybody, welcome back to Succeed with Omid. Today we're going to be talking about something that I blogged about this morning, and if you haven't read my blog before, chances are it's probably because I didn't have one before. I think the last post was March of 2017. So I'm going to try and blog at least 3 times a week. If you want to follow along, I'll have a link down below for that. But this is a simplified version of what I talked about, which was ancestral living in the 21st century. This video, I'm just going to cover 4 of the points about kind of being a caveman to be better equipped for the 21st century. And before I get into those 4 points, no, looking like a caveman is not one of them. So joke down below about that if you want. But number 1, eat like a caveman. And the important thing to understand is that each caveman is different based off of where they came from. Right? I am full-blooded Persian. Both mom and dad were full-blooded Persian. We've been full-blooded Persians for a long time. My caveman ancestors would be very different than, let's say, somebody from London. Reason is, my people are desert people. London people, their ground freezes in the winter. So what is that going to do to the vegetation? I have access to vegetation all year round if I can find water, right? I have different water requirements than them, but likewise, London people are going to follow the animals around in the wintertime and then stay put where the vegetation is in the summertime. Eating like that, believe it or not, on a cycle basis that we call seasons, can really go a long way to improve your health over the long term. I'm not saying this is going to cure cancer. I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on the internet, but it might help prevent it, right? Keeping that stress of not eating with the seasons out of your life, right? Being in more harmony with the nature that your ancestors came from. Number 2, if you're going to eat like a caveman, you got to move like a caveman. Most of us, say 90% of us, our ancestors walked long distances. If they were nomadic at all, they walked even further, which is why that 10% is there. There's some people out in the world that kind of stayed in one place the entire time because they had everything they needed, but for the most of us, we had to walk very far distances, nice and slow. And then we had to fight the heck out of something or kill something because we needed to eat or run away from something or do something crazy heavy because it's in the way and we got to push it out of the way. Something high intensity, right? There's no really middle ground. Move like a caveman, right? That's kind of where the industry is starting to go, and I'm very happy about that. There is no real push for this steady state, huffing and puffing sort of in that middle ugly ground. That leads to chronic stress and fatigue and adrenal blowouts and all sorts of bad stuff. So move like your cavemen did. And if you don't know, by the way, where your cavemen came from, there's so many companies out there, Ancestry.com and 23andMe. I'm not affiliated with them. Do whatever you want, but there's so much information out there for dirt cheap. Number 3, live like a caveman. Our environments are so toxic to us these days, and it's 21st century, so we can't really do a crazy amount about it. Unless you want to be like, Dr. Mercola and live in an EMF, proof Faraday cage when you sleep and stuff like that. That's a little far for me, but I can at least turn my phone into airplane mode at night and turn off the Wi-Fi. I don't need those when I'm asleep, right? We used to come from caves, so it was black, pitch black, completely black and cold. So I can draw my blackout curtains and close the doors so I don't get that ambient light from the living room, and I can keep everything completely pitch black. And I can have some control because we live in 21st century America. I can have some form of air conditioning or a fan, or if you have the means for it, some of these companies like, I forget the one that circulates the cold water underneath the chili pad. Anything like that to kind of keep things as close to our ancestors used to be, keeping all the chemicals out of our house, right? There's so many natural alternatives to, insecticides like Raid and pesticides and all that kind of stuff, or even, not to bash on Windex and Pledge, but I grew up on Windex and Pledge. There's so many chemicals in that crap, and you can make easy alternatives at a very cheap things. Or, 7th Generation, the new company that's coming up. Again, no affiliation with any of these guys, but there's so many things we can do to keep all of those chemicals out of our cave. And we can live like a caveman. The last one is rest like a caveman. Or woman, sorry, sexist don't mean, or a woman, cave person, cave people, whatever. We used to live in a cave for 12 hours a day because the sun wasn't out, right? There was very few instances where it'd be outside in the nighttime unless we were on a hunt. And usually that was just the men. Sometimes. But the idea of, we used to just hang out by the fire. We used to tell stories. We used to screw like rabbits, right? We used to do a lot of things that were very non-work related. And the problem is, now that we have access to email, some people are working in bed, checking their email in the middle of the night because somebody texted them or emailed them or something in the middle of the night, and they're not putting their phone in airplane mode. And they've done studies on this. Even if you don't wake up, the notification going off disrupts your deep sleep. So we need to rest for a lot more hours. And by the way, we can also get a lot more done in the daytime hours if we're actually getting that rest. That study's been done 100,000 times at this point in time. So if you're not tracking your deep sleep, I think I saw it was at Macy's the other day that had some weird Fitbit equivalent dirt cheap for like $60. And those track deep sleep. You can get an Oura ring. You can do some movement-based censored on your phone. It's starting at the very least somewhere. Even if it's not 100% accurate, 80% accuracy, you can see the trend over time of you resting much better and having less stress in your life. So, be like a caveman. Don't look like one. But that's it for today. Read the blog post if you'd like. I'd love it if you did. I'm just starting back in, so feedback is appreciated, but be civil. I hope this information was very helpful to you guys. As always, have a happy and healthy rest of your day. Talk to you next time.